Violet Evergarden is an anime that follows a young girl, Violet, a veteran who was made and raised as a tool for war, and her journey on becoming a Ghost Rider, or as they're called in the TV show, auto memory dolls, for people who want to write letters but can't write down their feelings on pen and paper. In doing so, she embarks on her own path of learning emotions and adapting to the normal world. If I had to describe Violet Evergarden in one word, it would be majestic. Everything about this show is outstanding, from the writing, the animation, oh god the animation. You can tell that KyoAni went the extra mile with this show, whichever angle you want to see it, and it's about time I wrote a love letter to this masterpiece and put it in video form. This review will not contain any spoilers, so sit back, relax, and listen as I talk about my favourite one season anime. Things I liked about the show. The animation and art. Now, most anime nowadays has animation that is worth praising, but holy cow does this show just have animation that makes you glue your eyes to the screen. Even when seemingly nothing happens, I can't help but admire every frame being shown on the silver screen. Starting off with the minor things like, oh, look at the way this ocean and this river move, or wow, this sky is drawn to perfection, or my goodness, there's confetti in this scene and my screen hasn't torn apart. It's impossible not to appreciate the work the animators and the art directors put in, and they deserve all the props for amplifying the world's building of Leidenschaftlied and establishing a setting for a story to take place before the writers have even lifted their pens. I haven't even gone over the major details like the character designs or the climactic sequences. Bro, look at this character. Look at this one. Look at this one. In fact, let me put a bunch of characters from random animes side by side, and you tell me which one the artist put the most effort into. And I'm not just talking about one character. This is an entire cast of people that are animated together to tell a story, to adapt a piece of fiction. Some might call this pretty privilege, but I don't care. For all I care, whoever designed these characters deserves to go in some art hall of fame or something. Then you have the major scenes. Action sequences, superb. There's nothing clunky about any of these shots. Alright, sure, sometimes the lighting might look a little dark, but I believe that's intentional. I believe that the darker lighting is there to portray a more depressing tone. It's not meant to be some awesome shonen final boss save the day fight scene, ooh, anime of the year. No. It's being portrayed as a time of war. The conflict is meant to be traumatic. It's meant to be hard to experience. There's no glitchy CGI involved. Everything is smooth. You can tell that the production team took no shortcuts to make the visuals as astounding as possible. Even the way that Violet interacts with her typewriter to, write stuff down for her clients, it always looks smooth on the screen. Animating something like this where somebody has to type out, this is not easy. There's a lot happening in the screen. Yet, it's never clunky. It's always smooth. And that's always what it comes down to. The attention to detail. It's the little things that make the biggest difference in the artwork of Violet Evergarden that makes it stand out from any other show. The music is phenomenal. I will try my best to show off as much of the music as possible throughout this review. Unfortunately, copyright is a thing. But the soundtrack is sublime. Now, first and foremost, I think we should all take the opportunity to listen to the soundtrack in our own time, as I think it's the only way to properly describe how divine it sounds. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're cooking, doing your homework, working out in the gym, or even making this week's YouTube video. Listen to the soundtrack, first link in the description. Did you like what you listened to? While in the show, it's another story. I don't know what it is, but the music complements the scene it's being played in so well that even as a world-class composer, you too would probably have trouble thinking of a replacement song to play during that scene. It's so hard to put into words how well the music fits in with the scene without giving examples. Hell, even with giving examples, because there's so many. So, I guess the best I can do is give you this analogy. think about any boss you faced in a video game. Anyone at all. And think about the theme song that's being played as that boss appears. That behemoth. There's just something about it where you think to yourself, yeah, if I was this boss kicking my ass, I too would probably play that song. Right. Well, every single scene is like that, and it's 10 times better. Violet Evergarden is an S-tier waifu. There's nothing unauthentic about Violet's character. She's one of those characters that you can relate to without experiencing what she's feeling. Her struggles hit so close to home, even though we've never experienced similar ourselves. At the start, she feels robotic, awkward, practically unfiltered, almost rude in a sense. Which would make perfect sense because she's been raised like a war machine all her life, so it makes sense that she would have terrible social skills. Gradually you see that not only is she more sociable and empathetic, but more human too. She acts like a human more. And that's pretty much the point of her character. Her entire life she has been a tool for war, to fight on the battlefield. And keep in mind, canonically, she's 14. Her human traits have been reset back to 0, assuming that there was anything there to begin with. It's a progressive journey. She's not a girl who does nothing for the entire season and all of a sudden is a big deal. You can tell that every step of the way, she's confused, she's learning, she's never been in this position before. And this is not a linear journey either. Violet also had to face things that reminded her of the traumatic past, of all the things that she had to do in the war, all linking with themes with PTSD, fighting your inner demons, things which, as mentioned before, we all deal with, but inshallah, we never have to deal with it to that level. Violet's story is also interesting in the way that she forms relationships with other characters. For example, Violet has always had an attachment with Major Gilbert Bougainvillea, the person who took Violet in and swore never to use her as a tool, to never see her as anything other than another human being. How does one cope being separated from someone like that? The show explores that. How does Violet ever build the trust with people who will never love her like Gilbert? The show explores that. It's also incredibly fun to see how she forms the bonds with her clients. Of course, as an auto-memory doll, you want to discuss the contents of the letter, the feelings behind the words. But what if your doll can't feel anything? What if the client themselves can't describe what they're feeling? And so the only way Violet can decipher the words of the letter is to feel those very emotions that she is unfamiliar with. It all sounds like one big convoluted mess, yet somehow the writers portray it in a way that makes perfect sense and is so rewarding to watch. But wait a minute, you might be asking, if the entire show follows Violet Evergarden and every character helps Violet to grow, does that mean that every other character is just a plot device? Well, the short stories, no! Or at least it doesn't feel like it. Every single character on screen serves a purpose not just towards bettering the writing, but increasing the quality of the world building. Of course, you have the other auto-memory dolls who show you the light at the end of the tunnel and the finishing line for Violet's character development. But I'm mainly talking about the clients. Most of them only feature for around an episode or so, and yet it's practically impossible not to feel attached to them. There's something unique about all of their struggles and problems that compels you to engage with what they have to say and feel bad for their predicaments.
Oh, I'm not gonna feel bad for some drawing shitty situation, especially if I'm never gonna see them again.
4 words. Episodes 7, 10, 11. Do keep in mind that this show is set at around the 20th century. That doesn't make the show shy away from presenting ideas that to a modern audience feel dated or inappropriate. This actually ups my respect for KyoAni, not only because it respects the historical accuracies and whatnot, but because those inappropriate norms were actual plot points. They were points of narrative throughout the anime. Every single short story in Violet Evergarden really brings you into the world. Every episode is an experience of something new, yet just another day at Leidenschaftlied. Oh, and the OVA. I would highly, highly, highly encourage you to watch the OVA somewhere between episode 7 and episode 9 to get the most out of the episode as possible. If you watch it after you finish the initial 13 episodes, there's a noticeable regression in the story. The OVA, again, it's another episode, it's another bump in Violet's growth, another character with a tale to tale, and another product of world-class directing and innovation from Kyoto Animations. Things I didn't like. It didn't win Crunchyroll Awards 2019 Anime of the Year, losing to Devilman Crybaby of all animes. I might review it one of these days, but it is utterly inferior to the masterpiece that is VE. I'm not trying to diss Devilman Crybaby. All I'm saying is not winning that meaningless, pointless popularity contest just does not sit right with me. And I have nothing else really to complain about the show. The show. The movies are a different story. We can review those on a different day. Violet Evergarden is a show that follows a war veteran's journey to self-acceptance and inner peace. In doing so, she listens to the feelings of other civilians in Leidenschaftlied. With gorgeous animation and an absolutely stellar soundtrack, Violet Evergarden is without a doubt the best one-season anime I have ever watched, and it's very, very unlikely that anything can compete with it for that top spot. Final rating, 325 minutes out of 325 minutes. This review would not have been made possible if it wasn't for my friend Ash, who managed to proofread my review and give me any valid criticisms. All of his links will be down in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, favourite, share, subscribe, and of course, make sure to view.